So if you go into the book of Proverbs looking for a prophetic statement about the Messiah, you're not going to find one. But it's not really fair to do that because the book of Proverbs isn't a prophetic book. There are no prophecies in the book of Proverbs. It's not written that way. If you're looking for some kind of an allegorical character, someone like a Moses or like a David, who you can read and you can study his exploits and his character and the good and the bad that happens to him and say, look, it's just like Jesus. It happens the same here. It's intentional parallelism. You're not going to find that because that's not what Proverbs is about. Proverbs is simply a book of wisdom. It's a book of wise sayings from the wise man. So the connection to Christ is more subtle. It's more, I guess subconscious than it is conscious, under the surface than it is overt. But I'm reminded of what Jesus says, of course, about himself in Luke chapter 11, verse 31. He says, "The queen of the south shall rise up in the judgment with the men of this generation and condemn them, for she came from the uttermost parts of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon." And then he says, "And behold, a greater than Solomon is here." Luke 11:31. So Jesus identifies himself as the greater than Solomon. He says, look, the Queen of Sheba came all the way to hear and to see and to meet Solomon because he was such a great king. And Solomon is held up as his era, the peak of his dynasty is the peak of the kingdom of Israel. It was never bigger. It was never more prosperous. It was never grander. It was never more geopolitically powerful than it was during the time of Solomon. And so that is the gold standard. David has their heart, but Solomon has their respect as a king. But Jesus says, nevertheless, a greater than Solomon has come. As great as he was for the queen to come see him, you can now see me. And that's not ego, and that's not pride, that's not vanity on Jesus' part. That is simply him trying to appeal to the people and show them that you have in front of you God in the flesh, greater than the wise man Solomon. Take advantage of what God has sent you. So that's the connection you make to Jesus in the book of Proverbs. Beyond that, you can say, well, Solomon was the wisest man ever to live, and everything that he said is applicable and profound in one way or another, and yet Christ still is identified as greater. So if you can listen to Solomon's words and take great wisdom from Solomon's words, hear ye him, Jesus of Nazareth.